welcome to Anonymous Animators Review. I'm your host, Wesley Boone.
I'm Emily Strasser.
And we're going to review the Boondocks. It's an animation that came on Cartoon Network Adult Swim, which there's actually, I don't know if I've ever told you folks about the interesting origin of Adult Swim, but it was basically all the people at Cartoon Network who were getting annoyed sort of with the corporate identity of it. Like a lot of the owners of Cartoon Network, they were like, no, we don't want to do this anymore. We want to be cartoonists, you know, in our own way. And they actually started up Adult Swim, so it's all part of the same family.
It plays more than just anime.
Yeah, at least it should. And so, we watched it on Netflix. It just recently came out, like all 4 seasons. Yeah. We watched all 4 seasons in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, it was crazy. Which we usually don't do.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've been trying to watch The Miraculous Ladybug for review purposes.
Sub. We try.
You know, and we want to get into Wackfree Season 2, but for some reason we just started watching Boondocks. It was just there and we started watching. And I guess it's also convenient because in order to watch Miraculous Ladybug, we have to set something else up and it's a whole pain in the butt. But you don't need to know that. What we're saying is we watched Boondock Saints. Yeah. Oh, no, sorry, Boondocks.
No,
Boondock Saints is also a great movie, but not one we will review here. This is just for animation and the occasional Mad Max love story. Or love letter. That movie was great. We should watch it.
Okay, Wesley. We'll watch it again.
Right. So, for any of you who don't know, Boondocks was written by Aaron Magruder.
Yes.
He is an African American, if that matters to anybody. Which I do think it matters in some level in the sense of content creation, but it doesn't matter that he is an African American, of course. He originally created a serialized comic strip that appeared in the newspapers and stuff. Like on the level of like what is the example that they gave? Calvin and Hobbes. Yeah. You know, and it makes sense. I personally have not read that much of it. When I was introduced to Boondocks I was raiding somebody's hard drive for videos a couple of years ago. This is like, 2007, 2008.
It's almost 10 years ago.
Please don't remind me. I was raiding somebody's hard drive and I found the first 2 seasons and that's what I had watched.
Oh, wow.
And so that was my first, and then there was like 1 or 2 episodes I caught on because we got Adult Swim, but we got it through. We didn't get. We had our Cartoon Network on satellite TV, but we didn't have Adult Swim through Cartoon Network, and I didn't know Adult Swim was Cartoon Network related until much later. But we got it like on a different channel.
Really?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't the Adult Swim channel. It was, I think. Man, it was that channel I told you about that used to play all the cool stuff, and it's a channel I don't even remember its name because it died like after a year. Oh. But it had like the Adult Swim 3 hours in the evening type of thing, and we were like, oh, that's cool. It's where you'd watch Space Ghost and all that stuff.
Yeah, geez, Adult Swim and Cartoon Network on American TV, it like starts at like it's freaking 9 o'clock. Depending on your time zone, and then it would go into like 4 a.m. But basically, the second half of it was just rerunning.
Yeah. So a little bit about Aaron Magruder from what I've pieced together. I don't have like any exact information on him on me, but yeah, he seems to be a little bit of an activist. You know, he definitely has opinions, though he does want to get work. Like a little tidbit we found was he wanted to say a lot more with Boondocks than what he did say, but he still wanted to work in Hollywood. And so I mean, like he got to say a lot, and I'm like proud of him for like at least saying what he did. But at the same time, it's like, look, I get it. You want to still make a living, but you know, like where do you drop honor for money? You know, like how much is your honor worth, type of thing. I mean, not attacking the guy.
I was gonna say.
Not attacking. I mean, it's like I get why he did it, and I do not blame him for whatever. But it does raise the question. Like it's like how much are your opinions worth, and how much are you willing to not talk about them? You know, how much do I have to give you to keep quiet? And that's the world we live in, really, if you think about it.
I don't know. I think that was a smart idea of him. Like, I'm surprised.
Yeah, if he wanted to say more.
Yeah. Well, like, I'm curious to know what it was he did want to say, because especially the
He'll probably say it, like, in Black Jesus or so. I haven't seen Black Jesus yet, if
I
it's
haven't
even
either.
Out. Which is the thing he was working on. So there's 4 seasons. He worked on the first 3 seasons. The 4th season, he's absent because apparently they couldn't get their schedules like, you know, to line up.
From what I was reading, allegedly, he wanted to work on Black Jesus, But, from what you gathered, it sounded kind of like they fired him.
That's what it's one of those things, there's no proof because neither side is saying anything. But it's one of those things where it's like all the stars line up perfectly to say that this, you can read between the lines type of thing. I'm using so many metaphors. I've got the Mitchell mixed metaphor bag. Shout out to our friend Mitchell.
We love you, man. Please RP with us more.
Yeah. So yeah, like the the Mitchell thing threw me off for a sec. But you read between the lines, you can sort of see, because how many years was it after like season 3 comes out? Then 3 years later was season 4.
Like
yeah, I mean that's a long time for in between productions, especially for something that was quite successful. He got dropped by Cartoon Network apparently. No, I wouldn't say dropped, but quote unquote fired. There's no allegedly fired. Let's put it that way. Allegedly is the current word of the decade.
You said the secret word of the day.
Yeah, a little single balloon drop. Some confetti. But yeah, so I don't know. Personally, I think it was one of those things where I would assume the corporation didn't want to get him involved, so they would be like, oh, we're gonna do it for this week, and then he would maybe work out his schedule, and then they're like, oh no, but maybe next week, and he's like, no, but next week I'm shooting Black Jesus, and then they're like, no, but that's the only week we can do, type of thing, and if you don't show up for that week, then never ever, and then maybe he did wiggle away again, and then they're like, no, but that's the way I picture it happening, and I can see it happening because even just a few years in the industry, I've seen how both sides, both studio and production company, can just screw each other over, screw the employees over. It's. I mean, I'm personally surprised that Rebecca Sugar for Crystal Gems has managed to retain as much creative freedom as she has up to this point.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. No, I do know that a lot of countries tend to censor the whole they're I think actually they showed the episode of Steven Universe where you learn that Garnet is a fusion. Sorry, spoilers, but I mean it's been a year. If you're
the general rule about spoilers, I believe, is 2 weeks or 2 months.
What?
So either way.
Okay. Anyway.
Well, you have 2 months to not spoil it for anybody, and then afterwards it's free game.
Okay. Anyway, so you learn that Garnet is a fusion, and they have that cute little scene where Ruby and Sapphire, they meet each other and they hug.
They jump and turn into Garnet.
And they basically kiss.
Yeah.
But they can't show 2 women kissing on TV, so they had to kiss her cheek, which was still kind of like, oh my god, I can't believe they did that.
Yeah. Oh man, people showing affection.
Anyway, the point I was making was apparently I think it was Pakistan who actually showed that episode, and they cut that entire scene out. It's basically, it's Ruby, Sapphire, and they run, and then they fuse, and that was the end. And I was like, oh no!
Yeah, that's.
Oh no! You missed so much. It was such a sweet scene.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's they'd rather have their homophobia than genuine human emotion. It's so crazy how that can. Anyway, back to Boondocks.
Yeah.
I don't know. Personally, I feel that Magruder sort of got screwed over of his product, and you can tell. 4th season. Before going into this, I was talking to a friend who was a big fan of the Boondocks. She had read the comics, and she had said, "Yeah, 4th season just doesn't feel right." And we'll get more into that with our hardcore review. We just want to get over the general ifs and ors and informations about Boondocks. So yeah, as we said, there's 4 seasons, 55 episodes, pretty much 12 episodes each.
Which seems to be the standard these days.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, give or take. I know definitely the last season was 12 episodes, which again, I think the less and less. I mean, it's the weird thing about syndication is you have to get the 50 or 100 or it's some weird number to aim for the syndication. However, if the series ends, you can syndicate early. I don't know the exact ins and outs of syndication. I just know it's the weirdest thing. My experiences in the pony fandom have taught me a lot about a lot of nonsense that I never thought I'd ever give a crap about, like copyright law.
Oh, yeah?
I did care about what do you call it, like creative rights, and when you create something and you have that those rights that belong to you.
Oh, right.
Crap! I blame sugar, that I've been eating so much sugar lately that my brain is stupid.
Welcome to North America.
But man, it's not creative rights. It's like it's information something, or anyway, doesn't matter. The point being is I believed in that a lot, like growing up as or becoming a graphic designer. But intellectual property is the word I was looking for. Or the words I was looking for.
Oh.
Yeah, your intellectual property, I was like really interested in that and knowing all about that. But then I learned more about copyright and its restrictions and how stupid it is, and then I also learned about I learned a lot about sound equipment as well through that fandom, because it's just that you're like just randomly reading blogs and forums, and people are like talking about this stuff, people who are really into it, and yeah, you learn so much about this. So one of the things I had learned about was syndication, and how a lot of fans initially were scared that we were only going to get 4 seasons because the 4th season was like so short and we were getting the syndication. So yeah, anyway, that's how I know about that nonsense, so you don't need to know all that. What was we had learned that each episode cost like $1.2 million to make each. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It had a huge budget.
It was, at the time, I think it still is, Cartoon Network's Adult Swim's most expensive show.
Yeah. And that's really saying something, because I remember Afro Samurai, an anime. I guess it was like around that time too. And I remember people saying like it was $1 million an episode. Jeez. And there was like 7 episodes, and I was like, "What? That's crazy!" And then you tell me that this is like $1.2 million. That's like crazy.
And that was the other thing that I was really surprised to find out too, is the fact that not only did Aaron McGruder get a lot of say in what he wanted his cartoon to say, but also how he wanted it to look. He was very his art style is very influenced by the anime style, and even when you see his strips, you can kind of see it looks like that middle school or high schooler way that you draw anime eyes kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. He definitely. I mean, it's the same thing. Who's that? The guy, the Scott Pilgrim artist?
Oh, Brian. Was it Brian?
Well, the Scott Pilgrim guy. He also his earlier art sketches also have that really high school level anime art. Western high school level anime art, because Japanese high school anime art is pretty good.
It's it puts all of our anime art to shame.
my anime art is still terrible. So. That's a good point to bring up. Is he got to retain a lot of creative freedom, bringing it to Adult Swim, because I believe the first episode that he made, or that they'd worked on, the pilot, before bringing it to Adult Swim, they had said no, this is made for prime time type of thing, a la Simpsons. And then also the design was pretty bad. I mean, you can see there's a lot of redrawing. A lot of redrawing in this. A lot of original drawing. It's crazy, because that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, just doing redrawing in flash shows takes time, and can be quite expensive when you move away from sort of more of a puppet or a cutout animation. And then you go into a bit more drawing, and it looks way better, and it looks much nicer, and it's more alluring to the eye. Because how many times have we seen cartoons out there, the cutout animation? I use Teen Drama Island as an example. When I was watching that, I wasn't even really following a path in animation. I didn't even watch that show. I didn't like it at all. I would always stumble across it, flipping through. Usually when I would flip through channels, I'd go to the cartoon channels first, check around there, see what I can watch if there's nothing interested me. Ed and Eddie, I would watch straight away. I loved watching Ed and Eddie. But Teen Drama Island, I would watch it for 5 minutes. I'm there's nothing alluring about this. The characters are insipid. This is stupid. And it was
that show is an enigma.
wrapped in a puzzle.
Well, because not a lot of Canadian shows get to the States, but I remember that show was on.
It's so weird you say that, because a lot of Canadian shows ended up in South Africa.
Well,
I didn't know they were Canadian at the time. Only when I got to Canada, I'm like, oh, this is a Canadian show.
Well, when I say Canadian, I mean it was
produced in Canada.
There's a lot of shows that are American based, but they're made in Canada. Ponies is actually one, we found out.
Oh, well, again, being in the fandom as much as I was, I knew that from the get-go.
Yeah, which I'm sure a lot of American Pony fans are like, what? It's like, nope, it's in Canada. Just trust me, I know.
Here in Vancouver.
And actually, we get a lot of, there's a lot of guys that try to, like, go into that studio.
Still to this day?
Yeah. Actually.
Wow, bronies are still trying to get in there?
Yeah, no, they like go...
Emily works at DHX, by the way.
No, don't tell them that. They're gonna...
She works... Email her if you want to get free tickets in.
No! No! Listen,
yeah, don't even bother. If you do email us, any bronies, it's just not going to happen.
Listen, yeah, no, please.
Like, Emily will tell you why. Because they... Well, I don't know.
Yeah, no, okay. Basically, DHX used to do studio tours, but then some jerk-off was, like, taking photos with his phone and posting it on the internet. And Hasbro got so angry and blamed DHX. Yeah, they blamed DHX. So DHX... Because,
it's a breaking of contract. It's breaking confidential information.
Well, I mean, it wasn't necessarily DHX's fault. It was just that this guy decided to sneak photos. Now no one gets to go into...
No, I remember the day that happened because I think I saw it on the website... I can't remember one of the Pony News websites, and they posted these up, and then after that, like the two main websites, I think Derpy Hooves News, I think is the one called, and the other one is called Equestria Daily. If you send them stuff in like that, they will not accept it because they knew that it got the Studio B/DHX into trouble, and then they won't accept that type of news anymore.
Yeah. So guess what, guys? If you know. I know it was just that one guy, but because of that one guy, now no one gets to tour DHX.
Oh, yeah. Like, I heard in the beginning, like, everyone was so excited because they loved the bronies. They were like, yeah, let's have these guys come in. And then there just had to be that one...
That one guy.
It's always that one guy that ruins it for everybody else.
There was actually a really funny incident that happened several months ago. But basically, this guy somehow got into the DHX studios... and went up to reception, and he was like, I want a tour, and they're like, we don't do tours, and he's like, well, I want a tour, and then they ushered him out, and he made a bad review on Yelp about it, and I remember one of my
no tours,
and one of my coworkers was just laughing her ass off about this. She's like, have you seen this? I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, but you see, I think no bad mouthing autists in general. It's just that those tend to be the more autistic level bronies, the ones that don't really go out much or understand sort of social cues, so no being too harsh on them, like they understand that, but as
listen, I've been to enough conventions to know exactly but that's exactly why they go to those conventions, but that's how people like me who are pretty small and awkward and defenseless, we often are the ones that end up having bad experiences from those.
Hey, listen, I've been to conventions where what's that thing where they dive tackle you?
It's glomping.
Glomping. I've been glomped.
Yeah.
By girls I don't even know. It's just because I'm a big guy that they think they can dive tackle me.
No, that's a bad thing, and they shouldn't do that either.
Yeah, so
it's you know what? It's like these are the things we should talk about, and we should be like, okay, guys, let's respect everyone because I understand you're excited. It's a convention. You're with your folks. And when you say your folks, I mean, like, your fellow nerd. Yeah.
It's weird getting glomped, though, especially by cuter girls, because you're like, you don't know what to do, because, like, me personally, I just don't like being touched if I don't know you. And
I touch you all the time.
Yeah, but I know you. And it's like, you don't know how to react, because, like, there is this, like, sort of, you're a guy, you're supposed to love this type of thing. And so,
oh no, I hate that. That's disgusting.
Yeah, it's no, I hate it at all. Like, also, it's not. I don't know.
Anyway, Boondocks.
Back to Boondocks. So yeah, for the most part, Magruder had his foot on the pedal, making the first three series, and apparently the reason why it does come off like because apparently in the comics, the main character Huey has more of a voice and presence. And in the TV show, Huey's more of the narrator, which I have problems with, which we'll get into more of the detail stuff later. But yeah, like, and that's the way he wanted it. He wanted it to be based around more Granddad and Riley, and then where Huey was the voice of reason. And yeah, so he got what he wanted, and that's great. I love it when creators get to keep creative control over that type of thing. And again, you can tell the first 3 seasons had his fingerprints on there, and then the 4th season
they kind of didn't know what it was they were doing.
Yeah, like the 4th season didn't have his voice. It didn't have that it was like it became a satire of itself almost.
Yeah.
Or I don't know what like a good way to explain it, but it definitely wasn't the same. Like we got into the first episode of season 4, and I was like, this feels different, but I can't put my finger on it. And then second episode, I was like, oh, okay, now they're just ripping off other shows. You know, I mean, they had lost some of the characters. I'm guessing some of the voice actors just didn't want to do it anymore, or whatever it was. Maybe they did want to change the story up. I don't know. I mean, it wasn't terrible. It was just what you've come to expect of it. It wasn't that. It wasn't Boondocks.
Yeah.
You know, it was making like fun of like the second episode, right? It was the Breaking Bad episode, or like Breaking Granddad. And then they don't even. There's no subtlety anymore. There was no, I don't know. It's just in comparison to the first 3 seasons. The first 3 seasons felt clever. The 4th season felt, you could even say, pandering. You know, it was like, I don't know. It made it that everybody could watch it, if that makes any sense. But by making it that everybody could watch it, now nobody wanted to watch it. Because you don't have, the people that you are maybe trying to get to watch it haven't been watching the first 3 seasons. The first 3 seasons, if you're trying to bring in newer, quote-unquote, dumber audiences, you're bringing in, they have to catch up with the first 3 seasons. They're not going to really get into it. Because those are, And so, trying to widen your net, you catch nothing, I guess. 2 rabbits, all that. I don't know how you feel about the 4th season.
No, I kind of felt the same way. It was too much. Like, I don't mind doing parody, but it just felt like every episode of the 4th season was like, okay, what are they gonna parody now? Like, what? Like something about the first 3 seasons.
Well, there was no parody in the first 3 seasons. Like there was no. I mean, sure, they'd make like reference to things. Like they always make reference to Friday, but it's like a reference, and it's always a wrong reference. Like Granddad's like this and this and this happened to me, and it's like no, that happened to this guy in Friday. Like Granddad keeps mixing Friday with his life.
Yeah.
But season 4, it was literally Breaking Bad. It was. Like, even the episode Breaking Granddad, and...
Well, like, it starts off the same way.
Exactly the same way. There's
Bad,
the
and it
pants
ends,
flying in the air.
Yeah, like, pretty much almost shot for shot. It's Granddad with the gas mask on, and he's got the pants, and it flies off the RV, and 2 passed out people in the back. It's like, God, no, this is exactly Breaking Bad. But, yeah. And the other... You know what really cinched it for me was the whole iPhone thing. Cause like something.
Oh, the Siri / her.
Yeah, cause something that.
And that didn't even say anything. Like in the Breaking Bad episode, it was still them trying to get out of their slave ownership type of thing. But the Siri thing was literally it didn't. And again, not every episode in the first 3 seasons had something to say about the struggle of the black man.
Yeah.
But it would have been nice just to sort of still, I don't know, like, I don't know what
It feels like a Simpsons writer, like a current Simpsons writer, not the first few seasons, but like a now Simpsons writer trying to write for Boondocks.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, or Family Guy writers writing for Boondocks. Yeah, the writing stuff definitely got different. Or at least the guide, maybe it wasn't the writing staff that had changed. Maybe the director, which is what changed.
Yeah.
Like he was like, no, this is what he wants to see. Like this is right for me for this type of stuff. And that happens. Again, I will use my pony fandom experience to talk about like in I think it was like season 3 when Meriwether Williams, she's a writer. She was a writer for Adventure Time, and she wrote an episode.
Every time I heard the word Meriwether, I always think that's a pony name.
Yeah, well, and then she wrote an episode for Pony, and it had like that Adventure Time feel to it, and it like made no sense, and the characters are kind of like flanderized a little bit, and the fans shit themselves. Like there was this collective pony stench, and it was one of the things that made me like sort of step back from the fandom, like whoa, I don't want to be part of this.
That's always sad.
Yeah, and it's this completely different feel, completely different writing style, completely different story style. It's just not there, or it doesn't. It's not there in the first 3.
Well, something that drives me crazy, especially with the Siri episode, is that something that drives me crazy is it immediately dates it. It immediately is like, okay, now I know where we are.
Yeah.
Because in the first, 3 seasons, they were trying to make it more timeless. It's kind of like somewhere between 80s and now.
Yeah, I mean there is sort of, it does kind of date itself anyway with like the technology that they were using.
Yeah.
Like when you watch the first 2 seasons, because I also remember, I mean, 9/11 was still fresh in everybody's minds. So Huey walking up to all the white people and saying 9/11 was an inside job and Ronald Reagan's the devil, you know, it's like. and that's also something I love, was one of Granddad's quotes in that first episode too, where he's like, oh, did you have that dream where you're telling the white people the truth again? Never tell white people the truth. It's a bad idea. I'm gonna go lie to a white person right now. You know, he just like walks out the room and goes to lie to a white person. And I love that, because it's like, you see, like that already is so clever in itself. It's not saying, oh, let's go lie to the white person because it makes them feel better. And if they feel better, you know, it's not explaining the whole thing. If they feel better, then they leave us alone type of thing. It's not doing all of that. You have to read between the lines to understand that. But it's clever enough the joke itself stands by itself. I'm going to lie to a white person just to sort of, you know, contradict Huey's like, oh, I've got to like upset the status quo.
Yeah.
And it has like this whole subtext to it.
Yeah.
That if you can figure it out, great. And it works as a standalone joke. In how many years? I don't know. I haven't seen her yet. I've been meaning to watch her, but
me too.
I tried to watch it at work, but then there's like a scene right in the beginning where he's thinking of a naked pregnant woman.
Oh dear.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, I can't watch this at work for obvious reasons. You know, and I'm not even watching it. I'm kind of just like off, like watching and anyway,
Listen, as an animator, you want to have something constantly playing in the background, or you get really antsy.
Yeah, I don't know. Like if I don't have somebody talking in the background or music playing in the background, I get like I lose focus. Whereas I have focus when I've got sound in the background. I don't know. It's really weird.
No, I'm the same way. Especially when it's one of the reasons I listen to so much freaking dubstep.
Well, anyway, yeah, like in her, I don't know if it's one of those movies that'll last forever. I don't know. Like 2001: Space Odyssey, you can reference that to the end of time because that's just somehow managed to get put into the.
Even people who have no idea what it is, they know the references.
Yeah, you know, you got a friggin' giant square black obelisk and, you know, monkey hitting the ground. It's like, okay. And then the do 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 boom 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 boom. It's like, yeah, okay, 2001, we get it, move on.
Yeah.
Because everybody else has references. You can reference Star Wars because that's just part of the cultural, you know, everything.
Zeitgeist.
Yeah, but with her, I don't know. Did her make a profound statement enough to...
I've never...
Like, will in 10 years people watch that episode? Like, in the first 3 seasons, I feel people will watch them and be like, yeah, we get it. But that last season, I think people will be like, okay, I mean, there's a slavery thing, and... Like, they might even think it's an original content if you know, if her is forgotten and people watch that you know, then they'll be like, oh yeah, what a novel idea, a psychopathic cell phone.
But, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I want to move away from season 4, and I want to talk more about season 1 through 3. As I was mentioning to you before, like, when I originally watched this on Adult Swim, I was, like, in high school, college. I think I was in college. I think it was, like, that transitional period between high school and college.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember watching it, and it was just sort of, like, a thing to watch on TV. But I didn't, like, given what I knew then... Something felt like I wasn't getting it, you know? Like, I wasn't really... Like, and as I explained to you before, I think the reason I didn't really, quote-unquote, get it is because I'm not really exposed to that culture, the black culture, the rap, the hip-hop. Because as I explained to you, in New Mexico, we don't have a lot of black people.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just gonna go out and say it right now, and so...
You're more, I guess, like Mexican or Latino.
Yeah. It's we have a really huge Hispanic population. Yeah, yeah, and that culture culture is just kind of lost on me.
Yeah. You see, the thing is, I was in late teens, early 20s, I was an activist, like, you know, going to rallies and you know, causing mischief, if you will. I mean, I'm not going to relay what I did here because it's not the place, but I was active in a lot of things. Anti-Bush rallies I went to. I'll gladly admit that. Like, come at me, government.
Come at me, bro.
Yeah, you know, it's like nobody wanted him in the country. Like, actually, there was, like, after I even left, I'd heard a few years ago there was like some anti-Obama rallies as well.
Really?
Yeah, in South Africa, and I was like, oh wow, like I thought they would have been more supportive of him, but no, like the thing is, Obama hasn't really changed enough policies between South Africa and US trade, and it's why we're relying on the Chinese right now, and it's why the Chinese are probably going to end up owning us as well. So, as I've said, we want to do everything the United States wants to do. We also want to be owned by the Chinese.
Oh no.
And yeah.
Well, I can understand that at least.
Yeah, so
you know, at least you have a reason to hate him other than, you know, black man.
but you see, the thing is, it's like I started watching this at that time when I was really active in that scene, and it was like, oh, okay, I get it, and I understood Huey, and I really liked Huey as a character, you know, this really active kid, but who could have really just been any age. They just put him in a 10-year-old body. I mean, you know, there's so many episodes, like the Black Jesus episode is really great.
I think I explained to you my favorite one is actually the Obama one.
That's start of season 3, like where the president is Black Huey or something like that.
Yeah, I think that was because that was really the only episode that really stuck with me, because that was one of the only episodes I really understood.
Mm-hmm.
You know, being a little bit more well read on racial struggles, especially given current events in the U.S.
Yeah.
You know, with the mass. Well, I mean, there's always been shootings of unarmed black people in the U.S., African Americans, whatever floats your boat. That's always been there, but it's just been more in the public eye, and it seems to be happening at a more frequent rate. And, you know, something that something that kind of creeps me out rewatching this series is how much the Boondocks predicted what would happen.
Yeah. Yeah, but the thing is, it's like that prediction isn't an uncommon thing to be doing. Because there's a lot of people, like, even in the 80s, even in the 70s, who were predicting, like, our oil shortages coming up.
Yeah.
You know, the price of oil hiking.
I mean, gosh, the whole environmental thing probably happened in the 60s, 70s.
Yeah. In the 70s, there's definitely recordings of people saying, like, yeah, look, we got to stop now because in 30 years' time it's going to get really bad. And then in the 90s, people were like, okay, we seriously need to stop with all these CFCs in our gas. And everyone's like, no, it's okay. And then in the 2000s and early 2010s, everyone's like, oh, it's now really starting to affect us. But
no gas is expensive. Now I care.
Yeah, but even then, there's still some people out there who are just like not giving a shit. But the whole thing, like, I mean,
I still want to drive my Hummer.
The black you know, like, I mean, firstly, black, suppressant, you know, just doing this whole thing in the United States. And believe me, I know about black suppression. I come from South Africa. We had this little thing called the apartheid. It was not a good time for black people, and even for some white people. Like, in the moment you stood up for black people, in that you got the boot down on your face.
Oh, the same thing happened with civil rights. Like, a lot of you get a lot of white sympathizers, and they were shot and killed. Like, you know, they'd be caught in the scuffle.
Yeah, but you guys didn't get flack from the government.
Fair.
Yeah, those guys got, like, harassed from, like, more the southern states type of thing, you know, your rebel flag type of thing, you know, this is racist, you need a history lesson.
Oh god, don't even get me started on that.
but yeah, it was the black struggle, like they could tell. I was explaining to you this thing called the echo of the apartheid, right? Like, remember I was explaining to you this afternoon, and what that means. I'll try and put it in a nutshell, was there was this loud outcry at the end of the apartheid, trying to obviously destroy it, and that's what they did. They got the apartheid destroyed, and then there was just complacency. So for like 10-20 years, black people got complacent, and the old people thought it was over, the young people thought it was pretty much easy, it was all easy pickings at this point. There was no more fighting, and that's a problem. You can't stop fighting. You need to, because that's not where it ends. It doesn't end, because now what's happened in South Africa is the wealth hasn't been taken from the white people and given to the black people. It's been taken from the white people and given to some of the black people. You know, so you've got like we've created a rich 1% situation in South Africa too, but it's still being blamed on apartheid, and that's a big problem. And so now the echo, people are now hearing the echo come back, and they're like, oh wait, we were supposed to keep fighting, we didn't, you know. And that's exactly the same thing that happened with you guys and your civil rights. You fought, the black people fought, and then they were quiet. You know, they got complacent. That's the thing, right? They weren't able to feed themselves, right? They're able to feed themselves now. It's really cheap and shitty, but fast food has been made in such a way that's why nobody's fighting anymore in first world countries, because we have food. We have shitty shelter for low cost, but we have shelter. They've found a way.
We have food that's killing us. It's just not killing us fast enough to care.
Yeah, to them it's like, I'm not hungry enough to strike. That's the thing. You need to be hungry, and it's so clever from the 1%er side. If it's, you know, to be all, you know, but it's clever because that's what they've done, and it was easy to predict because it was being planned in those early stages. So, you know.
Well, the other thing too is something I see reoccurring a lot is a lot of victim blaming. You know, where it's like, you know, we did affirmative action and still nothing's changed. Yeah, and it's like, well, that's because you did it wrong.
Yeah, and the same thing, I can say the same thing. In South Africa, affirmative action was also wrongly executed. And they actually, like the black people, had full power. But
was wrongly executed in a completely different way.
Yeah, it was corruption that destroyed that. Like, it wasn't... Like, I would not blame black people. Like, it's such a weird thing being a white South African, because you hear, like, you're always around other white South Africans, and they're like, white South Africans are angry at black South Africans, and black South Africans are angry at white South Africans. And there was this quote I recently heard where it was like, nobody gets along with South Africans, least of all other South Africans. And it's so fucking true. Like, this is a story I love to tell. In the 2010 soccer World Cup soccer, South Africa was the first time I ever fucking felt like my country was one country. Like, it didn't feel like I was a white person in a black person's country or something. You know, it's always kind of felt that way to me. And in 2010, we all of a sudden just loved each other. Like, we were like, we love South Africa, we love Africa, and we were like with open arms until the end, which caused the whole that whole Ghana problem. Anyway, I don't want to get into that. But the point is, it's so weird because here's a little history lesson for those of you who love South African history. The first thing the foot trackers, which are our forefathers, what do you guys call them? The guys who were in the caravans. The pilgrims, I guess.
Yeah.
Whatever.
That's
the first
the
thing.
Word I'm thinking.
Yeah, we call them foot trackers, which were the first travelers, I guess. The first thing they did when they landed in South Africa and left Cape Town was they went in different directions of each other. It's like they didn't want anything to do with each other.
Wow.
That is white South Africa in a nutshell. We don't want anything to do with each other. The whites don't like the English don't like the Afrikaners don't like the blacks don't like the Zulu, and the Zulu don't like the Xhosa, and the Xhosa. It's like, guys, we got this fucking melting pot of amazing cultures, and none of us want to work together. It's so fucking bizarre, and
that's frustrating.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. And so you bring it back to this bullshit situation of corruption, and the Zulu currently are all in charge and just destroying it for everybody else. But, you know, they're rich, so I'm still mad at my president for recently stealing $20 million to build a house for himself.
Yeah, but what else is new?
Yeah. Sorry, yelling about South African history. But the point being is, it was easy to see that, quote unquote, to see that coming if you were really active in that time. I mean, we've seen Bernie Sanders videos from 30 years ago, 40 years ago, where he's saying, guys, we can't do these bills because in 30, 40 years time we're going to destroy the middle and the working class.
Oh yeah.
And then it's 20 years later, he's like, no guys, we can't do this. It's already starting. Kids aren't even learning in schools anymore in the 80s. And then the 2000s come in, and he's like, I warned you 40 years ago. This whole thing is fucking coming down. And then everyone points at Bernie Sanders socialist. And it's like, you really are stupid. And it's great. But, you know, when President Trump comes in soaring on the wings of an eagle that doesn't bite him, you know, I'm sure everything will be fine.
I feel like crying.
Well, you got a choice. It's either, at this point, it's either Trump or Hillary. So... it's either the first six of the devil or the last six of the devil. You can choose.
Sob. Anyway, yeah.
So yes, McGruger, it was easy for him to do that because because he did Black African Studies, right?
He majored in it.
Or African American Studies. And so he because Black Africans, right? That's a redundancy. I mean, I'm a white African, I guess, but you call me a Caucasian, I guess, or a European.
I mean, whatever floats your boat.
Well, I don't know.
Whatever gets your goat.
I just like pretending to be black because most people were like, "What?" I have my one friend back home. Whenever like if you'd insult him or something, he'd say it's because I'm black, huh? and
oh yeah, you adopted that for
I adopted it. But the thing is, doing it here in Canada doesn't work because white people take offense to it, and black people back home fucking laughed at it, and we were like, because it's like it comes out of nowhere, and like again they are like it's so weird because I don't.
It's all about context.
Oh, for sure. Because also, like again, the black people I did hang out with were not poor black people. Mm-hmm. I hung out with because I'm upper middle class in South Africa.
Yeah.
Right now I'm lower middle class, if even that, in Canada. But I'm upper middle class in South Africa, and my dad's done really well for himself, and I just hung out with those guys, and we would talk about this shit all the time too. And I mean, the one thing though I do hate is when say the less educated ones would come up and say, "Oh, I'm voting for." They'd come up to me, a white person, and be like, "I'm voting for the DA," and I'm like, "Why?" Like, why are you voting for the DA? And they're like, "Oh, because we want the white person to do this again." I'm like, "No, that's not how that works." And the DA is predominantly black anyway. Like, what is like they obviously don't know what they're talking about. And sorry to mix South African politics. What I'm trying to say in a roundabout way.
God, Wesley, that's not Boondocks at all. Boondocks doesn't even take place in Africa.
Yeah, but it is politics, and Magruder is very good at talking about it, and that's the one thing. One of my biggest complaints of the first 3 seasons, or just the show in general, is I didn't get to see enough of that, especially from Huey. I would have liked to have seen Huey do more activism or more political stuff and done in the way that it's written. I mean, he does a good job of explaining himself through Huey, through Grandpa, through Riley, who again represent the 3 different. What did he say? The 3 different
stereotypes of angry black.
Yeah, people. Angry black man. You got the old, disgruntled civil rights fighter. You've got the young street thug, and you've got the civil rights activist. The young civil rights activist type of thing.
Well, I guess you could say
who's angry at the white man.
Well, I guess you could say that, for Huey, it's more about, like, the fact that he is an activist, but he doesn't do anything. He's all about, like, he's basically the Tumblr activist, right? Like, he goes on his blog and he complains about, like, it's bad.
Yeah.
And then, but when it comes time to do the thing, I mean, that's maybe you can make that argument, but I
think there's there's more reading between the lines. I think he does do stuff behind the scenes, because otherwise I don't think he would have been labeled a domestic terrorist. But at the same time, I just would have liked to, I don't know, I just would have liked to have seen it. But
I guess it's more 4th season Huey than 1 through 3 season Huey.
Yeah, but I mean, they do talk enough about it. They do talk about the oppressive white man. That was also something I didn't like in season 4 was Ed Wunsler, in season 4 actually actively comes out and like demands that Robert does stuff for him because he owns the house and you type of thing. Whereas in the first season, I mean, he just came in to check in, like, okay, what type of person is living in my house? He didn't care that Robert was black. In fact, he liked Robert because Robert was the old school.
Yeah.
He liked that old school mentality of Robert. It wasn't about oppressing black people. It was about getting the dollars.
Yeah.
And right now, that's just how it is in corporate America. It's, well, not really corporate, I think, but in general, there's this attitude of if you find a group that you can oppress, you can definitely squeeze out a lot more money from them. And that's always been a thing. That's been something that everybody's noticed, and it's why the show does seem prophetic, but it's not. It's just it's futurists like understanding like, oh, these are the patterns that are following themselves again. And I've said to Emily several times, like, just watch the fall of Rome. It's pretty much what happened in what's happening in the States now is what happened in Rome like 2,000 years ago. It's and like you can like play things back to back, like the oppression of the people, the growth to the bigger growth of the country. It's just it's sad, it's scary. You're going to have a leader that probably... Like, one of the things that also destroyed Rome was, like, nobody accepted the leader of the time. And your last 2 leaders, you've had a lot of contention between the people.
Yeah.
Like, firstly, Bush people were like, there was a group of like, ooh, we don't really like this guy. But Obama was definitely, there's this huge, I mean, how many times do you hear of your southern states like, oh, we want to secede because of Obama?
Well, not just that, but like even the people who were in power. I mean, we were talking about Ted Cruz, like, shut down the whole government because he's throwing a freaking temper tantrum over, you know.
Yeah, well, that came to bite him in the ass, which I'm happy about.
Well, not to mention Congress. This has been the Congress that has put the least bills through, like, tenfold in any point in history. Like, you look at the things that since the invention of the, what is it, the
printing press.
No.
Hang glider.
No.
Chewing gum.
Filibuster.
Oh, right.
Since the invention of the filibuster, there have been more filibusters done in the Obama administration than any other time, and it's not so much.
Well, almost like a good couple of years put together.
Yeah, like his first term, God, like the first 2-3 years, there were like 300. You know, the previous like, I'm probably botching the numbers, but the previous record for most filibusters in a presidency was like 9. That's how much. I mean, I'm probably wrong, but point being,
filibusters are a lot of work to pull off.
Well, that was it. It was like, you know, it was like Obama would put a thing on the table, and he's like, I want to do this, and the Republicans would like, no, it's got your cooties on it.
Yeah.
It's like,
and you see, and that's the beauty of the show, or I think Magruder's work in general is like he definitely gets people thinking about it and talking about it, you know, and like they did present it in such a way, again, as I said, where you could laugh at just the joke's face value, but you could also maybe sit and think about it, you know, like, and it wasn't always about just like oppressing a group or yelling about a group. It was about like, oh, the grand scheme of things. Like, I think that's also one of Huey's faults, is Huey like targets one thing and they're constantly proving him wrong, right? They're like, Huey, it's not about oppressing black people, it's about making the money. Or it's not about, like, what you think is we're not attacking you. And so he can't prove that they're attacking him because they're not attacking him. They're just doing this whole thing. He's just like collateral damage, if you will.
Yeah.
Or black people are collateral damage in this whole scheme of thing.
Well, I don't know, like, yeah. Something I really do appreciate about it is even before I understood more about, you know, racial tensions in the States. I don't know what to call it, but just history of racial tensions in the States. Like, I don't know, I definitely did appreciate it more the second time, and it does work better for me as a satire than it did the first time around. Like, I can definitely see how even knowing these things, it doesn't work as a satire for some people, because I was reading some people saying it was like, oh, I don't appreciate these stereotypes being put on screen, and like, if that's not your bag, then I understand it, but it definitely is a polarizing show in the sense that for some people the satire works, and for some people it's just, you know, a bunch of angry black people shouting the N-word. But I don't know, for me it made it a little bit more, like, as Magruder said, it's like that he wanted it to be as real as possible, because, you know, him growing up as African American, that's how it is, you know, for him, for his friends, you know, that's just how they talk. But I can... Oh, yeah,
I mean, it's I mean, even back home, now we don't have the N-word back home, like, in the same way. Like, I mean, I've heard it said, but it doesn't have the same, I think, impact. Like, when I hear it, or if I say it, like, I mean, let me just clarify, like, I mean, there's no way I can clarify this. I don't say it like just casually. Even it's like, I'll say it like when I'm trying to explain something to somebody, like, oh, blah blah blah, the N-word, you know. But when I hear it or whatever, like, it doesn't I don't think it pierces me as much as maybe it would pierce you.
Yeah.
But when I hear the South African equivalent, the K word, which again is a word I don't even say that like casually, like, if I hear that, like, I heard it on TV, like with the one movie Blood Diamond, when I heard like what's his name, Leonardo DiCaprio, when he said it, and I heard, I'm like, what the hell? Like, I heard I was just like minding my own business, and it was on in the background, and I heard it, I'm like, holy shit, you know. And then Matt also showed me a book that he had, like, it was about like the viewpoints of a South African black kid, like growing up in the diamond mines or whatever, and it was called the K word boy, and I'm like, why is this in your house? You know, and he's like, oh, what's wrong with it? I'm like, you can't say this word. It's horrible. I suppose I could say the I think it's an Arabian word. Kafir is the original word, which means non-believer. So you would refer to anybody that doesn't believe in like the Arabic whatever. But it's been bastardized into a bit more of an Afrikaans word, and I hate that word. And when I hear it, it pierces my soul, and I don't like that at all. So. But if you were to hear it, to you, it would mean nothing. And that's the same thing almost with the N-word with me and I think most South Africans, I would assume. I mean, you couldn't go up to a black guy and say that word because it is still offensive, but it's not as offensive as, say, the K word. You know, and it's like, and that's a cultural thing too, right? But like, I have heard black people in South Africa just refer, like, they'll call each other the K word. And even that's still a little bit, like, you don't do that, but you know, like, you can get away with it. It's like, you know, especially when you're telling them to stop being idiots. Like, oh, don't be such a kid, you know. And I'm like, oh, okay. I guess. I mean, you can say it to each other, I guess.
That was something that kind of struck me as interesting too. Is the fact that, you know, they would use the N-word as like a term of endearment almost, but then also it would, in certain contexts, it would refer to, you know,
in their case, in the way that they use it, it's no different from really us like saying the word dude. You know, it's like, dude, come on, don't be an idiot. Or, yo, dude, what's up? You know, it's like, you can say dude affectionately, you can also say dude like you're being an idiot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it is, and I'm sure that's how, and it's been taken back. But I do, like, I don't know, it gets so weird when, like, I feel, I don't know, it's weird, like, that there's still this stigma when white people say it, especially since we've, like, accosted like the rest of black culture, you know, from like rock and roll and modern hip hop to, you know, to just, I guess it's the way that they dress and that culture. It's and even just talking.
The one thing that they can hold on to.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing to want to hold on to, because I mean, using it as a term of endearment or just making fun of a buddy is like, it's, to me it's like, oh, okay, cool, but You can't, like, it's not up to us as white people to decide how that word gets used. I mean, one day maybe, but I doubt it, because I think it just has too much of a stigma on it. There's just no way. Like, we'd have to have like an entire generation forget and then bring it back, type of thing.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what happened to the word queer too, where, you know, I remember when I was in college, like, you know, talking with other folks of the LGBT community, if you will. You know, talking about how, like, you know, originally, like, the really old homosexuals and bisexuals and transgenders of the past, like, they don't use the word queer, you know, that's like a super offensive word, but, you know, to us, we don't really understand the connotations to it. It's just, you know, people who are not cis and heterosexual, but I don't know. It's weird. History is weird. Language is weird.
Language is good. Well, I guess that's all we're gonna say for it now. We've come up to almost ending time.
Wow.
Closing time.
I haven't even gotten a chance to talk about the thing I wanted. What was the thing I wanted?
I don't know. You've got 2 minutes.
Dang it. I don't know. Just like, yeah, man. Just. Man, if you liked it before, I highly recommend a rewatch.
Yeah, I would definitely say at least get through the first 3 seasons.
Yeah, the 4th season, I mean,
you could skip it. I don't think you
wouldn't really miss anything.
Put it this way.
Oh, I remember the thing I wanted to talk about. About the 4th season was the fact that I felt like there was something to be said, like they were trying to touch on the whole, like, the inequality of the classes, the middle and the high class, but it felt like talking down to the audience. The
4th season definitely had, well, that's what I said earlier, right? They were trying to like maybe wrap a bigger audience, and then
I mean, I think the whole enslavement thing, like the freedmens get they essentially become slaves to the Oncelers, which, like, I can see where they were going with that, but it was just so blatant.
Yeah, well, I mean, I obviously explained to you that how that made me, like, that was the the part that ripped me out of like my suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
Like the show has a kid like jumping through the air like anime style kung fu, and they're going crazy, and Uncle Ruckus is a nunchaku master, and that all I'm okay with. I had no problem with any of that. You know, I had no problem with Bushido Brown. I had no problem with the Stink Meaner coming back from the dead. I had no problem with Stink Meaner being a clone, but the Oncelers owning the slaves the way they did, that pulled me out of it. I was like, no, this is stupid. There's no way in hell in this modern society that these people would be allowed to work for slave, even if they owed a shit ton of money to somebody. They'd just be having to work and pay it off, and then they'd be like threatened with jail, which is a whole system that needs to be reevaluated. But that's another topic. But yeah, it is like I didn't like that at all. I thought that was stupid, and I hated it.
I felt like it was half baked, essentially. I felt like they could have done something, but
there's no way any court would accept. Oh, he signed his life away to me as a slave. I own him. Slavery is illegal in the States, straight up. No matter how you do it, I cannot give you a piece of paper that says, "Emily, you own me for the rest of my life."
I mean, unless if you're talking about the sex trade.
No, it's still illegal.
Yeah, but people still do it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, you get seriously fined for that type of... But, yeah, again, you get seriously fined for that type of thing, so...
Well, considering... Well, see, the thing about you know, sex trade is that it's mostly done, like, underground in the shadows. But this is a man... I would imagine
the same thing with slavery, but this was done out in the open.
Yeah, this is a prominent figure who is being constantly watched. Yeah, no, it wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, and so, yeah, that just blew me... Yeah, it was one of the things of season 4, just in a different way. So, anyway, to what I was trying to say before that was... I feel you could watch the first 3 seasons and enjoy it because that's how I did it. I wanted to get through those first 3 seasons as quick. I got home, watched it, and was like really enjoying it.
We really loved it.
Season 4 came on. We watched like we were watching like 4 or 5 episodes a night before, and then season 4 came on. We got through like 2 episodes. Started kind of watching the third one. Lost interest. Played with the puppy. You know, whatever. Yeah. So I don't know. Is there anything else you want to conclude on all that?
Just. Yeah, man. If you know, if it's not your type of satire, that's okay. You know, it doesn't even matter. Yeah, something I think I was reading. My favorite thing about Boondocks that you should understand is that what it basically says is it doesn't matter what your race, what your background, sexual orientation. Everyone's effed up. Is essentially what I guess the comic wanted to say, and what the show wanted to say is it doesn't matter who you are, there's still a part of you and your culture that is still effed up. Yeah. And what was the last episode again? There was something I wanted to say about that one. About how... Oh! It was the whole Riley...
with the whole gay and retard thing?
Which kind of, like, that was...
That ended on, like, just such a blank note, like, just such a...
I don't know.
Dull note. It was like...
Yeah, it was just
There's
the
no
weirdest...
mic drop, it was...
It was just the weirdest thing to end on, because it's like, this is,
I mean, it had some valid points about bullying, but...
It had valid points about, like, where do you draw the line on free speech, but, obviously, the First Amendment doesn't protect you from the consequences of the dumb things that you say. Like, you can say, the only thing that the First Amendment protects you with is, not getting arrested for the thing that you say.
Okay.
That's the only thing it protects you from. It doesn't mean that people have to accept your dumbass opinions.
Yeah. Well, that's enough, I guess, politics and
Boondocks.
civil shoutings from both of us, both American and South African. Not that it matters to anybody, I guess, but
disclaimer: neither one of us are black.
Oh yeah, I mean you're half Hispanic.
I'm like a tiny % black. Like my.
I'm as white as the driven snow. Okay, well thanks for listening, guys, and if you want to message us or whatever, all the contact information's down in the about box on the YouTube.
Disclaimer: I am like 2% black. Not even.
That doesn't even count.
Yeah. Well.
Good night, folks.
Good night.